Good Erev Shabbos, everyone. Erev Shabbos, Parshas Behar, BEchukosai. I want to ask you a question that I encourage you to share at your Shabbos table. You can ask your children, you can ask your spouse, whoever else is there. The following question. Imagine if I told you when you're setting out to pick a profession, there's a certain profession that you very badly want to go into, but there is one catch. That catch is that every 7 years, you have to take a year of unpaid leave. That is how this profession works. You get to work 6 years, and you'll hope, Be'ezer Hashem, you'll make enough to provide for your family in that 7th year that you're forced to take an unpaid leave. You have to make sure you have enough to cover all the tuition for that year, all car expenses, the mortgage, all your expenses in life. You have to make sure that in 6 years, you have enough for that 7th year, because you have to take off. How many of us would look into that profession, even though we mamish loved it? How many of us would kind of pick something else, go for our second choice? So we have to ask ourselves that HaKadosh Baruch Hu created an agricultural society in Eretz Yisrael. That's what Hashem did. And at the same time, Hashem said, the 7th year, Shemitah, the beginning of Parshas Behar, you must take a year off. That's what the Torah says. You have to stop for a year. You work 6 years, you take a 7th year off. You can't work. Now, the Rambam, the Kli Yakar brings the Rambam in Moreh Nevuchim. The Rambam says, really, it's Hashem helping us. It's a bracha to replenish the nutrients in the ground, which are depleted as you, season after season, year after year, we work the field. The nutrients become depleted. So they have to be replenished. So you take a year off. Frek the Kli Yakar, I don't understand. If you look out there by the Goyim, what do? They work the land for 2 years and leave it fallow for 1 year. To work 6 years straight, al pi derech hateva, according to the natural order of things, you're going to deplete the land of all its nutrients. Alternatively, I've heard others ask, why not divide your land into 7 years, and every year you work 6/7 of the land, making sure that every year another 1/7 lies fallow to replenish its nutrients, instead of telling everyone, okay, Shemitah, 7th year, you got to stop. And if it's Shemitah Yovel, 2 years in a row, unpaid leave, no money coming in. Why would Hashem do that? The Kli Yakar offers an answer that I think is very relevant to us living in these COVID-19 times. Zok the Kli Yakar, B'dei Yashiv, Kama Dikdukim, B'lashon HaParsha, that's going to help us understand various nuances in the Psukim. Omer Ani, I say, says the Kli Yakar, Shatan mitzvah zuhi lahashrish es Yisrael b'midas ha'amun v'habitachon b'Hashem. The point of this mitzvah is to instill within us the concept that Hashem runs the world and we must trust in Hashem. Because, says the Kli Yakar, human nature is, once the Jews go into Eretz Yisrael, they're no longer guests in a foreign, hostile land. They're no longer wandering around the desert. They go into Eretz Yisrael and they build themselves up, and they build themselves farms, they build themselves houses, and there's industry, and there's success, and there's a natural tendency to say, that it's my strength that did this, and a person is prone to forget Hashem, because everything is fine, and Baruch Hashem, I have good business instincts that help me, and I made a few good deals, and I know what to cultivate, what to plant, where to plant it. It's all my doing why I'm in this state. So Hashem says, no. Al Kain, says the Kli Yakar, Hoitziyam Hashem in Haminik Hativi Lagamre. Unbelievable. Hashem took the Yidden in Eretz Yisrael completely out of the natural order of things. The Goyim plant 2 years and leave fallow 1 year. Not to ruin the koyach of the land. For 6 years you have to plant your land, says Hashem. Every single year, and I promise you, says Hashem, that against the teva, your land is going to produce more and more, to the point that in the 6th year it's going to make what you need for the next 2 years. And it's going to make tvua for the next 3 years when it's a Shemitah and a Yovel. So the idea behind Shemitah, this is the answer to our children, to ourselves, is Hashem, it's a present, it's a bracha. Hashem is guiding us in the midah of bitachon. We have to realize, even when we think we're in control, we're not in control. That is definitely one of the strongest and most humbling lessons of the COVID-19 is to realize that even though we think we're in control, we think getting into our car and getting on the 95 and going to work or going to shul, that's in my control. And Hashem has shown us in a very strong manner that nothing is in our control. And as we discussed in the Meshech Chochmah this week as well, that is why Hashem does this in Galus. If we don't ourselves remind ourselves that we're not in control, that Hashem is in control, then Chas v'Shalom, Hashem is going to send us the reminders that we'd rather not have to remind us that Hashem is in control. So it's incumbent upon us to take the lesson of the Kli Yakar, which is the lesson of the Torah itself, of Shemitah, realizing that where I think I have control, I don't have control. And with that, we'll be Zoiche to have Hatzlacha. Nothing is a coincidence. And as the Gemara Megillah says in Daf Lamed Aleph and Beis, why do we lay in Parshas Behar BEchukosai, or more accurately, Parshas BEchukosai before Shavuos? So the Gemara says, it was Misakin that we lay in BEchukosai before Shavuos, and when we say before Shavuos, we mean 2 weeks before Shavuos. Next week is Bamidbar, and then there's Shavuos after that. Zok the Gemara Megillah and Daf Lamed Aleph and Beis, that Ezra Tikkun on the Yisrael Shu Karin Klolis Shebeteres Kahanim Kodim Atzeres. Ezra instituted that we lane Parshas BEchukosai, which is the Toichacha, the Klolis, the rebuke from Hashem. If you don't listen, the curses that will happen, Chas v'Shalom, before Shavuos. V'shemish Torah Kodim Rosh Hashanah, and the other rebuke at the end of Sefer Dvarim, Parshas Kisavai, we lane that before Rosh Hashanah. My time, what's the reason for this? Amar Abaye, v'Tamer Reish Lakish. Reish Lakish says, or Abaye says, K'dei shetichle hashana v'kilo loiseha, so that the year ends and the curses end. We lay in the curse at the end of the year to symbolize, to signify that the year is ending, and be'ezras Hashem, the curses also will end. So the Gemara asks the obvious question that you're all thinking: This Shlamashad Mishnah Torah, Ika K'dei shetichle hashana v'kilo loiseha. We understand that when we lay in Kisava before Rosh Hashanah, that's the end of the year. Rosh Hashanah is the new year. It makes sense. But when it comes to Parshas BEchukosai, Otu Atzeres Rosh Hashanah, Frek the Gemara, is Shavuos. It's not Rosh Hashanah. It's not a Rosh Hashanah. It's not a new year. The Gemara says, no, it is a new year. Rosh Hashanah Shavuos is a Rosh Hashanah. Atzeres Nami Rosh Hashanah, Desnan Uva Atzeres Al Peros Ilam. The Mishnah in Masechus Rosh Hashanah says that on Shavuos we're judged for the fruit of the tree. So it says in the Gemara that Shavuos is a sort of Rosh Hashanah. And Be'ezer Hashem, as in this year, as in every year, we lay Parshas BEchukosai before this Rosh Hashanah of Shavuos. We should taka b'zoich. It's my tefillah to all of us that it's a taka, a tichle shana, the kilaloseh, the specific klalas that we've been recipients of, unfortunately, in Tavshin Pei in 2020 should end. And with Shavuos should herald a new beginning. It's a Rosh Hashanah, the Gemara says, and we should all be Zoiche for Bracha and Hatzlacha and Brias. Wishing everyone a wonderful Shabbos.